Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats who will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. My mug today came from my lovely niece-in-law, I guess you could say. It says, "Thank you for being my uncle. If I had a different uncle, I would punch him in the face and go find you." So in addition to being one of my favorite mugs, it goes along with my shirt today, which is one of my old Muay Thai shirts from when I used to train and fight and all that. I am here today with a 10 underrated horror movies. So, I haven't done one in a while. I very much enjoy these. Fun change of pace, and hopefully I can introduce you folks to some movies that maybe you would have missed had you not seen them on this channel. So, I have my list here that I'll be going off of, 10 movies. I try to make this as easy as possible. I give you the movie name, the year it came out, and some options on where you can watch it. I try not to pick any movies that are, impossible to find or anything like that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, the first film I'm going to talk about is the 2016 film Fender Bender. This is about a high school girl who is out driving one day and gets rear-ended by a man. It's nothing crazy, just a little fender bender, of course. They exchange insurance information like usual, and then she unfortunately has to tell her folks that it happened. They're supposed to be going away on a vacation, and her parents, upset about the little accident she was in, even though it wasn't her fault, force her to stay home while they go. Now, unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for her, the man that she ended up in this fender bender with is in fact a serial killer who chooses his victims in exactly this way. And now with the insurance information, he has an address, a name, and everything else he may need to stalk and harm these poor folks. Now I picked this film because it is such a real horror. When that type of situation does arise in your life, if it arises in your life, then yes, it's kind of scary to think about the fact that you are giving a total and complete stranger some of your most personal information. And we hope, of course, that nothing like this could occur, but I am positive that it has. And this movie takes that idea and rolls with it and does it in a great way. This is a cool movie for a few reasons. I feel that it does a great job as a horror movie, as a sort of mainstream horror movie, and that people who are not normally into horror can still very much enjoy it, while those who are can still find it scary too as well. It's very much a classic setup once the stalking starts occurring. And it also gets points for having a main character and main family who are of Spanish descent, which doesn't typically happen in horror. So points there. And again, just takes a very real life horror and rolls with it. Now this next movie should also be familiar territory for those who enjoy horror. This is the 2019 film Halloween Party. Halloween Party occurs on a college campus right around Halloween time, of course. And these college students start receiving little animations on their computers. These really cheesy things with horrible little digital ghosts on them, and it sets a timer and asks you for your worst fear. The idea being that you have to put your actual worst fear in there, and if you do not, before the time runs out, then something horrible will happen to you. The kids, of course, think it's a joke, until people start dying in awful, horrible ways that really don't make any sense, other than the fact that that is in fact their deepest, darkest horror. This is very much in the realm of something that us in the horror community are used to. We've seen movies with similar themes in regards to, you know, the technical age going against us and spirits entering into computers and phones and things like that. We've seen this sort of thing before, but Halloween Party does it very well. It is an ultra low budget film, but despite that, they do some really neat things in here. And I'm just going to share one thing with you in regards to whether it's actually scary or not. If you have a fear of pig people, then this movie's going to freak you out. Have fun. Alright, moving back a few years, we're going to go to 2008 for a movie titled June 9th. I, for one, never got tired of found footage films. I know a lot of people got burnt out on them. I still like them. So June 9th is one that I think has slid by the radar for a lot of people. And I think it's a pretty decent one. June 9th, of course, has a typical setup for one of these found footage films. It is about a group of friends hanging out, being stupid teenagers, and committing stupid pranks, namely against these people in a town very near to theirs, this very weird town. But these kids, of course, they're just, you know, playing pranks, doing stupid teenage stuff, and realize a little too late that the people in this town are not exactly normal. So, as I said, again, very classic setup here. If you have watched found footage before, then this is very familiar territory. I like this movie because it is, again, a very low budget film. The teenage actors in this film, I think, are the stars of the show. The interactions between them and the footage of just them goofing around and being stupid seems so genuine and fun. I couldn't help but enjoy it. It reminded me very much of my own time as a teen, and it was almost a nostalgia thing for me in that regard. But again, they felt very authentic, and the interactions between them felt real. It was very cool. So that's what brings me around. And despite the ultra low budget, they have some really great gore effects. The reasons for them being in this town, despite them knowing that things are not necessarily kosher there, again, seem very valid. And overall, the film is just, it's very effective and has some great character interactions. So, if you've not tired of found footage just yet, then give June 9th a try. And now, 3 movies in, I realize that I've neglected to tell you folks where you can watch these movies, which was part of it. So, jumping back for a moment, Fender Bender can be watched for free on Pluto, Vudu, Amazon, or Crackle. Halloween Party can be watched for free on Tubi, Amazon, or Peacock, or for $1 on Apple. And June 9th can be watched for free on Tubi or for $2 on Amazon. Moving much further back on this one, we are into 1989 with the horror sci-fi movie Leviathan. And Leviathan is about these deep sea miners who are they are on the very last few days of a very lengthy dive, a very lengthy job down there. And within these last few days, they find a sunken ship, and one of them brings something back from the ship and accidentally releases a very deadly, very dangerous illness onto this ship that they are all stuck on miles and miles down. As I said, this came out in 1989, so some of you may be a little more familiar with this one. This is an absolutely excellent movie for those who enjoy John Carpenter, for those who enjoy The Thing. This is definitely a movie for you. Again, it has great character interaction. I very much enjoyed the characters in this one. The movie has some really great effects, some super cool scares, and just very well done all around. The claustrophobia that you would feel in a ship down in the ocean like this, with this awful, horrible thing spreading, is absolutely felt by the viewer. And overall, it is just a very solid film that I think way more people need to watch. And that movie can be watched on Tubi or Pluto for free, or you can pay $4 to watch it on Amazon, Apple, or Google. If you've watched the previous videos in this 10 underrated horror movies, then you will know I also have a thing for anthology style horror movies. So there are a couple of those on there. We're getting into the first now with one of the newest movies on the list. This is 2021's Grave Intentions. This can be watched for free on Vudu or Tubi, or if you feel the need to pay, then you could pay $4 to watch it on YouTube. Now, this movie, as I said, is an anthology-themed movie. The main narrator, if you will, the person acting as our crypt keeper in this case, is a woman who owns a magic shop. And as she is showing us the basics of magic, she is also telling us the story of 5 of her customers who had to learn very unfortunate lessons about magic and the ways in which it can go wrong. I will say right off the bat, the acting in this one is not the greatest. Some of the effects are rather cheesy and silly, and honestly, the magic practitioner woman who kind of talks over it all, she may offend some people who are actual practitioners of magic. That said, this is all for enjoyment, and this is a rather enjoyable anthology. Overall, it just has very much that Tales from the Crypt feel to it, where none of the stories take themselves too seriously. Everything is just a little bit humorous, despite the fact that it is also very dark and very much horror. And this is just a great film if you want to sit down with something that you don't have to think too much about and give it a good watch. Now, there is one other film on this list that also came out in 2021, and this one is a horror comedy titled Too Late. Too Late can be watched on Tubi for free. It can be watched on YouTube for $4, or you can choose to pay $5 and watch it on Amazon or Apple. Although I don't know why you would choose any of those options, but hey, I'm not here to judge. Too Late, as I said, is a horror comedy, and it kind of has to be a horror comedy because it is about the assistant of a very famous comedian who sort of runs his shows behind the scenes and is trying to get into the business herself, but not doing a very great job of it. She is very lonely. Her whole existence is kind of just about taking care of his business and trying to make him happy so that she can become a big star because of him. And one day she meets a man that she very much likes, another comedian. They start to get a little closer, and she has now decided that she wants to try and make something of this relationship and something of herself without the help of her boss. The issue here being that he is a very peculiar man, if in fact he is a man at all. Horror comedy is not typically my thing, but this movie absolutely did. It's just a very unique movie, and there are a lot of laughs to be had. The tone of the movie overall is very humorous, but very dark. It is not the scariest or spookiest or anything like that, but it is meant to be a horror comedy, and for that it absolutely succeeds, even for a person like me who does not normally enjoy that kind of thing. So I don't think a lot of people have watched this film, and I think that they should. So do yourselves a favor, if you're looking for something a little more light-hearted, but still gory and gutsy and unique, give Too Late a try. Moving along, we're going to talk about a 2019 film titled 1BR. 1BR can be watched on Netflix for free. You can also pay $3 to watch it on YouTube, or $5 to watch it on Google or Amazon. 1BR is about a woman who has newly moved to Los Angeles. She doesn't know her way around yet, doesn't know anyone yet, but she kind of lucks into finding this seemingly perfect apartment complex where everything is great, although they do have some strange rules. And unfortunately for her, she very quickly realizes once she's there that breaking these rules has some equally bizarre, strange, and disturbing consequences. The acting in this movie is not always the greatest. It does sometimes borderline on the ridiculous, just in regards to the way that the characters act or react in particular situations. But that said, it was a very enjoyable movie. It has some very horrific moments, and I think I liked this film because it felt like a Bentley Little novel, but in film form. I could see him writing something very similar. In fact, he has written something very similar. But this movie does a great job of taking that sort of almost satirical approach that Bentley Little takes and running with it. And for that, I have to commend the director. Again, the acting is not always the greatest, and some of the situations are just a little too unbelievable, I think. But overall, if you're a fan of Bentley Little, then you will probably very much enjoy 1BR. The next one is a 2015 titled Southbound. And Southbound can be watched for free on Tubi, Amazon, or Hulu, so definitely no excuses not to give this one a try. This is another anthology-style horror film, all with interconnected stories that include stories such as malevolent spirits at a gas station, a mysterious hitchhiker, home invasion, and a car accident that goes very wrong very quickly. So, these all kind of have to do with a particular town, or revolve very close around this particular town. Again, they're all interconnected stories, so the very beginning story will in some way tie into the very ending story. I love when horror anthologies are able to do this and do it properly. And while I feel that a couple of the threads are in there loosely, they all are in fact interconnected, interwoven, and the movie as a whole is just very cool, very original, and has some excellent effects, some genuinely scary moments, and this is one that will mess with your head as you try to figure out what the heck is going on in each of these stories and how they're all connected. So, give Southbound a try. No reason not to. It's free, and I promise you, you will have a good time. Alright, now this is the last of the anthology style. I honestly didn't even realize that there were 3 of those on this list, but they all deserve their spot on there for various reasons. Now this one is also going back in time, back to 1989. This is After Midnight. Now, you can pay $4 to watch this on Apple, or you can watch it for free on Tubi, or if you have Amazon Prime. And After Midnight is about a group of college kids who gather at their professor's house to tell scary stories. And the reason they are doing this is because this particular professor teaches a class on the psychology of fear. So, all of these stories, as I said, come from the students. Now, these stories are not interconnected. They are simply more of an anthology style in regards to Tales from the Dark Side or the Twilight Zone movie, where they're all spooky stories on their own, don't necessarily connect, but there is definitely a story going on in the background, and the horror of that ramps up as the movie goes. So, very quickly, you realize that the professor that they all seem to adore, there's something wrong with this guy. And you as a viewer, realize this very quickly. Now, this movie, again, surprisingly great effects, especially considering it was 1989. Some really cool stories here, genuinely scary moments again, and just a very enjoyable film. Again, I love these anthologies. I never get tired of them, and this is one that I had never heard of, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. I love this one. I will definitely be watching it again, and the overarching story is a really cool one. You'll probably guess some of the little twists and surprises, but overall very much enjoyable. Alright, we are on to the very last movie of this list, and I saved this one for last for a particular reason. This, of all the movies I've talked about here, is absolutely the scariest on the list. For a lot of reasons. This is not going to be for the lighthearted. This is not going to be for the general horror connoisseur. This movie is for people who can handle a very disturbing, very messed up movie. That is 2012's Compliance. This can be watched for free on Pluto or Vudu, or you can pay $3 to watch it on YouTube or Google Play. Now, as I said, Compliance is absolutely the scariest movie on this list for a variety of reasons. This is a movie about a fast food worker who is pulled into the back office by her boss. Her boss has received a call from a police officer who says that she has been thieving from the company and has basically asked the boss to interrogate this woman. And as the interrogation goes on, he makes some very strange demands, increasingly disturbing demands, that these people continue to follow. And again, this movie is not for the lighthearted in any way. You have to be okay with a very disturbing film in order to watch it and successfully get through it. Because there are times in this movie that you are going to want to look away, you are going to want to skip, because it is going to make your skin crawl. And if it doesn't, you need to talk to someone, because there is something not right with you, my friend. The most disturbing thing about Compliance is that this movie is based off of a true story. And I don't mean it is loosely based off of something that kind of sort of happened and they took some major, made some major changes with it. I mean, this movie took place almost exactly as it happens here in the film. And knowing that going in makes it so much more horrific. And I'm not going to say anything else about it. If you can handle disturbing films, watch Compliance. It will disturb you. It will make your skin crawl, and you will feel uncomfortable all the way through. This is not horror that is about violence or gore. This is not about jump scares. This is purely psychological, and it will mess with you, I promise. There you go, folks. That's 10 more underrated horror movie hidden gems. I hope you enjoyed. If you have not watched the previous ones, I will link them down below. If you have, then I hope you enjoyed this one. And feel free to share with me down below some of your suggestions for me. I always end up watching them, and you guys have some great suggestions. I love finding new movies. And that'll do it for today. I hope you join me for the next one. We'll be jumping back into books, of course. Again, enjoy some of these movies. You can watch any of these for free in at least some capacity, so no excuses not to give them a try. Thank you, stay safe, drink great coffee, Pet your Cattons if you have them, even though they're not as good as mine. Sorry, they just aren't. And that'll do it. Cheers, everybody.